Welcome back to Inside City Hall. When Letitia James, the Democratic nominee for State Attorney General, debated her Republican rival Keith Wofford on New York One this week, she twice misled voters about her record. The deceptive statements are the latest examples of James, the city's current public advocate, sometimes stretching the truth to her advantage. Our Grace Rao joins me now with this story. Grace, you did some fact-checking. What'd you find?
Well, we found, Josh, in two different cases during the debate, one of which was called out directly in the debate by Errol Lewis, who was moderating it, that Tish James, frankly, misled voters. And this actually fits into a pattern that goes back a few years. Letitia James says she has used her position as public advocate to speak truth to power, citing lawsuits she brought against the city and the state.
We sued the governor in the case of representing children in foster care who were being abused. There was a settlement in that case, and right now there's a monitor over the Administration for Children's Services.
The only problem? A federal judge struck down the proposed settlement.
Was that a direct response to your lawsuit? I thought you're talking about the one that Judge Swain threw out.
Later on in the debate, James and her Republican opponent, Keith Wofford, were asked when they were last in a courtroom.
Last month, when I argued before the federal court on behalf of residents of public housing in a settlement case.
James was in federal court in September, but she was not arguing a case, as her answer suggests. She and dozens of public housing residents testified before a federal judge about conditions in the city's public housing system. A campaign aide told New York One James answered the question accurately. A campaign spokesman said, "The fact is, Tish James has 20 years of demonstrated public service, standing up for vulnerable and marginalized populations. She sued the city of New York on behalf of autistic children, low-income widowers, children in foster care, and tenants. And she will continue to stand up to powerful interests and stand up for the powerless as Attorney General." James has previously lied about her age and falsely claimed credit for helping a homeless Brooklyn girl, Dasani Coates, tell her story to the New York Times.
Obviously, the expose, I was aware of it and had a little bit something to do with it. And so we decided to work together to basically put on the front page of the New York Times the face of poverty in the city of New York.
And Josh, that final example involving Dasani Coates was really remarkable because that interview that Tish James did on New York One was actually on her inauguration day, on January 1st, 2014, when she lied about her involvement in the case of Dasani Coates, and an editor for the New York Times, in a pretty unusual move, made a public statement to make it very clear that she had had no involvement whatsoever in the New York Times front page story, an investigation into Dasani's family and their situation.
Where do you rank what she said during this debate on the strata of misstatements, lies, however you want to put it?
So, this is the era of Donald Trump, where we are seeing regular misinformation, lies coming out of the White House. And so these are not necessarily as extreme as what we as the American public are now becoming accustomed to from political leaders. But she is running to be the top lawyer for the state of New York. And when you are a lawyer, when you are in a position like that, the truth is incredibly important, and being accurate and specific. And so the example she gave of being in federal court and arguing a case there, that is a very specific meaning. When lawyers talk about arguing in court, they mean that they are trying a case. That's clearly not what she was doing there in court. By choosing that word, her people can say, look, she answered the question correctly. She was asked when she was last in court. She gave an accurate answer, which is what they said to me. But bottom line, by choosing the word argue, she seems to be trying to paint a different picture of herself that doesn't necessarily reflect the reality.
When she said it, I thought that she was at the podium arguing with her client next to her. Do you think that this will change the race?
I don't think that this is going to change the race. I mean, this race has largely flown under the radar, at least in the general election. Keith Wofford has a major uphill battle to get his name recognition out there and to challenge a Democrat in this exact moment where Trump is so unpopular in New York. And Tish James is basically pointing the finger at her Republican rival and saying Trump, Trump, Trump over and over again. And Wofford has been a supporter of the president. So I don't think this fundamentally changes the dynamics of the race, but I do certainly think that it is important for voters to have all the information available to them when they go to the polls. So we did want to fact check some of her statements during that debate. And as you saw, Errol Louis calling her out in real time during the debate about that settlement being thrown out after she cited it as an example of her, standing up, speaking truth to power.
Right. Fact checking a huge part of what we do. Grace Rauh, thanks very much.